Now, when it comes to what you'll buy, what goes into that decision for you? Maybe the function, maybe the cost or budget, or maybe you just like the aesthetic. But there is something more to the way that we do consume. Psychology expert Dr. Jo Lukens is with me. Good morning.
Good morning, Susan.
Thank you for being with me. So how does motivation and perception influence the way we shop?
Considerably, it would seem, when we look at some of the research. So we know that motivation really drives us to fulfill our needs. So we all have very basic needs, and that makes sense as to why we'd be motivated to fulfill those through our shopping behaviours. But we have social needs and esteem needs. Maybe people listening could look down at what they're wearing, and are you wearing something very basic and functional, or have you got a little designer brand on what it is that you're wearing? Because we know certainly we buy all of these things for very different reasons, and the way we understand information about products also influences our shopping decisions.
Yes, some people like all of the brands, some people are anti-brands. Can you explain the role of emotions in our shopping behaviours?
Emotions have a very big part to play because emotions drive all of our behaviours. So most of what we do it because that's what we feel like doing. Our emotions certainly can have a very strong influence. So sometimes when we're feeling positive emotions like joy or excitement, we can impulse buy. Sometimes when we feel a bit sad or a bit stressed, we may also shop to make ourselves feel a little bit better. So we know that emotions, and that's a really useful thing for us to be aware of, is how personally for each of us our emotions might influence our shopping behaviour.
What are some of those cognitive biases that we might have, and how do they affect those shopping habits?
This is an interesting topic as well, because you and I have talked about cognitive biases in relation to things like saving and investing and those sorts of things as well. So it makes sense that they also influence our shopping behaviours. So we know the cognitive biases are basically those little shortcuts our brain makes that we don't always pay attention to. One of the most basic ones is a thing called an availability heuristic, which means that if we see things often, then we think they're popular and lots of people have them. And the challenge for us is with the way our wonderful phones operate is the microphones are listening. So if you and I are talking about, I don't know, pink hoses for the garden. I don't know if a pink garden hose exists, but I never feel the need to apologise to anyone who's listening to this story close to their mobile phones, because we'll all get ads now for pink garden hoses. So if we see things often, we think they're popular. And of course, popularity, like you said, might be the very reason someone buys or the very reason that somebody doesn't.
Yeah, and most people like to fit in and feel like that they're part of something. So we have spoken about those cognitive biases before and affect us in relation to what we buy and invest in. How might they influence how we shop and if we're all going to be getting pink hoses soon?
I'm going to feel really bad if there is such a thing as a pink hose. Anyway, maybe we need a pink garden hose. So, there's one thing that's called the halo effect, which is the idea that if you already have a positive impression about a brand, you might assume that all of their products are high quality, even if you don't have the evidence. And so, of course, what that might do then is, because many of us say that we're time poor or feel that we're time poor, we may just ultimately go with that particular brand across a range of products without doing the research. So that halo effect that we see is, if I really like my phone, then obviously I like all the other products that manufacturer might have for us. The other one that I thought was interesting to mention this morning, which is a bias that I know I definitely do not suffer from, is a thing called the IKEA effect. And that's where some consumers place higher value on products that you actually have to construct yourself. So, yes, and I must say that if it involves an Allen key, I am not. But there are many people who have the time and take the pride and probably the quality workmanship that they could construct something themselves. So it's interesting that people feel that there's more value in something that they're actually invested in its construction.